a listener production.
Hey, it's the Weekend Briefing. I'm Antoinette Lattouf. Turia Pitt is one of those names pretty much everyone in Australia knows. If you don't know the name, you probably know her story. In 2011, she was caught in a grassfire during a 100-kilometre ultramarathon, and she suffered burns to 65% of her body. And since then, she's become so much more than a survivor. Turia's, I'd call her an overachiever. She'd probably call herself that. She's racked up accolades, written multiple books, built a huge following, and somehow she's managed to stay genuinely funny and genuine throughout it all. And this chat is one of the most honest and hilarious ones I've ever had on the show. Turia doesn't just join the conversation, she takes control of it. Despite our very different lives, we understood each other instantly. We talk about the relentless drive to keep pushing, keep achieving, even when it starts to hurt, and the pressure to do this publicly. And true to form, Turia has some sharp, funny advice, especially for women who've been taught to put everyone else first. She explains why it's time to be, well, more selfish, and why people from migrant backgrounds or those living with disabilities can probably ease up on having to prove that they belong. Then later in the show, it's the weekend list when Helen Smith joins me and we give you a bunch of unsolicited advice on what to watch, eat, see and do. But first, my chat with Turia Pitt. Turia Pitt, welcome to the Weekend Briefing.
Yeah, thanks, Ant. Thanks for having me.
I can't believe we haven't crossed paths.
I know.
I'm so excited. We kind of pounced on each other when we met today.
Yeah, I know. Because I have so much respect and admiration for you, particularly with what you've navigated over the past, I don't know, it's been like 12 months, maybe a bit longer. And I've been I actually wondered how you found the energy to fight, because I thought about it and I was like, I'd give up. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, look at this. You've just assumed the role of interviewer straight away, straight off the bat, Turia. Overachiever. You just walk into a studio and
it's my fucking studio now.
Command the show. I mean, I could ask the same question because you took on a fight and
yeah, but I was younger. Like I was 20,
2011. So.
Yeah, I was 24, like a young person. I had really great support. So my mum was there, my family was there, my beautiful boyfriend at the time was there every day.
Now husband?
Well, we're not married. But
now partner.
Yeah,
continued partner,
I may change my mind. My options are open. So I had really great support.
Yeah.
And I think as much as I like to think that I did it all myself, like I didn't. And if it was just me navigating catastrophic burns to 65% of my body, and no one was coming into hospital to visit me, no one cared. Like I wouldn't be where I am.
Well, I could probably say the same for me. Not that I was 24, but that I have an incredibly supportive partner. I had so much love and support from the general public, which I remember you did too.
Oh, and I still get it now. Yeah. So even this morning, like we were leaving the hotel and a guy stopped us and he was like, "Are you Turia Pitt? Like I studied you at school.
Yeah.
I think you're amazing. You know, like keep it up." So I still get it now, which is just I actually find it really nice and really beautiful.
Yeah. What's it like to become, and again, I guess we can swap notes here. What's it like to become, an icon or a poster girl for people off the basis of something that's quite traumatic? Because I get people coming up to me all the time and I'm like, I feel like sometimes people are clapping for me after a car crash. Like in that it's a very painful, difficult thing.
It is. And this is part of what I've learned as well is that so often people would come up and ask me questions about this really traumatic event that I've survived. And they'd say, "Oh, what was it like getting helicoptered out of there? How long did you have to wait? How long were you in hospital?" And because I've been raised to be a good person, a good girl, don't be a bitch, be polite, and I would placate these intrusive questions from a stranger. So I'd say, oh, it's all good. I had to wait a couple of hours, but, I survived. So I'd try and like
you're still being a hype girl to your own trauma.
I was like being like, it's all good. It was bad, but now I'm living this really great life. Yeah. And then my psychologist was like, you don't have to answer those questions. And I was like, what? She was like, you don't have to answer those questions. And I was like, but what do I do? Yeah. What do I do if I don't answer them in a really nice, happy, polite, energetic, joyful way?
Yeah.
And she was like, don't answer them. You can ignore them. You can walk away.
Because it would take you back to that moment. You could be out shopping, having a nice time, thinking about what you're going to watch on TV that night. You're not having to relive all the time because somebody else wants you to.
Yeah, and I think because I've been so public with my story and so many Australians have been invested in it and so many people have been behind me and Michael and so happy when we had kids and really happy for us. So I felt like maybe I owed them an explanation, but I realised that came at a cost to me. Yeah. And I think I really realised as my kids have gotten older because a stranger could ask me a really intrusive question and I'm there with my kids and then I'm teaching them that if somebody asks you an uncomfortable question, you have to answer it. And not only do you have to answer it, but you've got to be polite about it and you've got to have a smile on your face and you've got to make sure that stranger doesn't feel bad for you. And, one time at a park, a lady was asking me what had happened and I was holding my son's hand and I could feel him squeezing my hand. He was like, "Mummy, can we go? Can we go, please? Can we get out of here?" And so
this is upsetting you.
Well, yeah, because I realise, I suppose, what sort of example do I want to set for my kids? I don't want them to feel like they have to answer any question from a stranger. I want them to know that if they're uncomfortable, they can walk away. Yeah. And if I think I want that for my kids, I should want that for myself too. Yeah. So I've become a lot better at saying I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
And sometimes the person's like, but it's an awesome story. Why don't you want to talk about it?
It's awesome, for them to dip into it for 45 seconds.
And I'm like, yeah, it is, mate. And then, this lady at the park was like, it's just really interesting. And I said, it is, but you're killing the vibe. Yeah, you're killing my vibe. And she sort of got it and walked away. And even though that was uncomfortable for me, setting that boundary, and I felt like it's quite rude to tell someone that you don't want to talk about something, I also felt a bit empowered by it too. So it's been a good learning process.
Sounds like it's taken quite a few years to set those boundaries.
Oh, yeah, it's taken well over a decade. Yeah, right. Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah.
I think this, off mic earlier, we were talking about the fact that you were born in Tahiti. Yeah. We're both children of migrants. Yeah. And as you alluded to, or you spoke about earlier, you're raised to be a good girl or to be grateful and to be polite and do the right thing. How much of that do you think is ingrained in being that, model migrant girl who's, grateful and lovely and high achieving and all of the things we kind of got drummed into us at a young age?
Yeah. And I almost feel like there was no other option, if that makes sense. My dad was awesome. He's like an Australian man, so he's like a white man. So can just put him to the side.
We love you, Dad.
For a moment. But my mum, she moved to Australia. She didn't speak English. She learned another language. Yeah. She wrote this best-selling trilogy in a second language. She raised 4 kids. She worked full-time. She cooked dinner. She cleaned the house. She did the laundry. She did it all. Yeah. And so that was my role model growing up. And she wasn't just as good as everyone else. She was miles and miles superior.
In some ways. I mean, she sounds like an incredible woman. Yeah. But in some ways, I wonder if that's this sense, and it goes back to this kind of like model minority myth, which is it's a myth that if you keep achieving and you work really hard and you do all of the right things, then you're going to be more accepted, or you've got to be better than the rest. You can't just be good; you've got to be better so that you're accepted. Your Australianness or your contribution is accepted. Yeah, that comes with a lot of pressure and not necessarily all of the returns that are promised.
Yeah, and I suppose I've felt that too, particularly after growing up, but then after being burned as well. And living with a disability, I feel like I've had to be exceptional to be palatable.
Yes, because now you're a woman of colour with a disability.
Yeah, and even with parenting my kids, like I can be so conscious when I'm in public. And if I, drop my phone because of my hands are burnt and I'm sort of clumsy, I feel like people are looking and people are judging and people might be questioning my abilities as a parent, which verbalizing that out loud, I get that it kind of sounds ridiculous.
No, it does.
But that's just how I feel sometimes. And I think that's, my whole life I've just worked harder than anyone else and I've really prided myself on my work ethic. And that's worked my whole life. But last year, just using that motto of just double down, just keep working, be scrappy, you got this, keep working, it didn't work anymore.
What happened?
Well, I got really burnt out. Michael was working away. I was parenting solo. We had friends and family around us who offered to help, but I was like, it's all good. I got this.
It's so kind of like overachiever curse, really.
Yeah, I was like, I can do this. It's not that hard. Like, I've got a disability. I'm parenting solo. I'm running a business, but it's fine. I've got it all. And I didn't have it all. I really struggled. I found it really lonely and isolating, even though I isolated myself in a way, because when people offered to help, I turned them down graciously and politely because you don't want to be a bitch about that either. And I was really grateful for writing this book, actually, because when I was reading back what I'd written, it didn't sound like me. So it was quite dark and quite depressing.
Because your book before, so this book is called Selfish. The book you wrote before it was Happy.
Yeah,
so something happened to Happy.
Yes.
Happy got tired.
Happy got fucking tired and exhausted. And I was feeling like my house was a prison. I was feeling like I was an inconvenience to people. I was feeling like I was in the way. I was feeling like my family would have been better off without me.
Oh,
yeah, it was horrible. It was really horrible. And
is that the first time you felt that low?
No, I felt that low after I was catastrophically burned, which kind of makes sense.
Yes, you can justify it.
I've been through something pretty bad. So, yeah, I need professional help. But when I went through this, I was like, it's not that hard. Like, you're working and you're parenting solo for like a little bit. It's not that hard. Like, why are you making this such a big deal? Why are you complaining? Like, just get on with it. Just work harder. Stop being pathetic. Stop being useless. Like, the voice in my head was so cruel. I was so cruel to myself. And I reached out to a really good girlfriend and kind of told her how I was feeling. And she said, I think you probably need help. So I went to the GP. And at the GP, I could see my book Happy on the shelf. And it's like this bright yellow cover. I look really hot. I'm like smiling.
You do look really hot.
Yeah, and I look hot on this.
Yeah, you do.
I know. Thank you. I wouldn't let them put it on the cover otherwise. But I felt like a fraud then because I was like, I've written this book about happiness and I'm here to get a mental health plan. Since that, I've had professional help and it's been life-changing. I really wish I did it sooner because I made my life so much harder for such a longer period of time.
Well, you're probably too busy proving to yourself and everybody else that you've got this, that you're exceptional, because Turia is always exceptional.
Yeah, and like I've beat the fire, so like this isn't hard compared to what I've been through.
So you look at that book Happy and you realise that you're not feeling any of the things you wrote on that page. What is it about owning selfish that allowed you to shift that feeling of needing to pretend everything was under control and that you were doing great?
Yeah, and I think it's probably an expectation that like a lot of us have on ourselves that we need to be thinking of others, we need to be putting others first. I think particularly for women, it's a bigger burden because we have this, women are valorized for being selfless.
Yeah. We're socialised to do it.
We're socialised. It's part of our culture. And when a bride and groom get married, the groom will say, she's amazing, I love her, she's so selfless. And we as a society, we love that. We love the idea of this giving, caring, nurturing woman who puts everyone else's needs before themselves. But I did that. I've done that my whole life. And that's why I ended up burnt out, overwhelmed, stressed and depressed. And so this idea of being selfish, about thinking about my own needs, making sure my cup's filled first.
But it's the whole put your mask on before you help someone else. We listen to that every time we fly. We just don't apply it to our lives.
Yeah, because you do listen to that, and it's something that's bandied around a lot, but I guess you don't do it maybe because you don't understand the consequences of not looking after yourself. I guess the resolution I came to too was that, like, sitting down to eat a meal without doing a million other things, that's not being selfish. Making sure you get enough sleep, that's not selfish. Saying no when your plate's too full at work is not selfish either. I think all of those things are things that we can do to look after our own well-being.
Yep.
But I think one of the things, you know, and you probably get this too, people will always compliment me on how resilient I am. And I think that's lovely, that's a compliment. But I think sometimes we place so much emphasis on people just being resilient. And that's what I thought too. Like, if I was somehow more resilient, I wouldn't be struggling with my mental health. If I was somehow more resilient, I wouldn't be going through burnout. If I was somehow better, doing more, greater, then I wouldn't be facing all of these challenges that I have now. And I think the sad reality is that we live in this society where
it rewards excess.
It does. It rewards excess. It rewards productivity. It rewards achievement. So to consciously take your foot off the pedal and say, you know what, that's not going to be the best thing for my well-being. So I'm not going to say, yes, that does feel quite boring to do. And there's so many things that I want to do. And so it's not good for my ego to be like, oh, well, I don't know, because my husband's going to be away and I don't know if I can fit it in, so I'm going to say no because of my well-being.
Are you doing that more though?
Yeah, I am. And I feel really boring.
Yeah.
And I feel like I could be doing more. I could be achieving more. I could be doing this. I could be doing that. And I have to take a step back and say, you've tried doing all of those things. And the result was that you became depressed. So let's just try it. Let's just try something else. And then if I look back on the year, I'm like, well, fuck, wait a minute, Turia. You're acting like you haven't done anything. You've released a book.
Yeah.
You did the audio version of the book.
That's tiring. I've done that.
Oh
the
my
audio
gosh.
version of the book.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody fully understands until they go in and they narrate or read out their own book how exhausting it is.
It's crazy. But like, so I have done stuff this year. I have done a lot of things this year.
What do you think it is? It's like, this is your own expectation, right? This is not your husband or your mum or your publisher or other people aren't pushing this on you. Is this you pushing yourself?
I think it's my own expectation, but also maybe if people are used to you delivering at a certain level, then if you say, hey, I know I said yes to this, but I've looked at my workload and realistically I can't do it, so I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Then maybe they're going to be let down. But what I actually found was when I started cancelling things or saying, I've said yes to this, but I can't do it now, I'm sorry, people understood.
Yeah, right.
And so I realised I was making my life so much harder by being so binary, by being so fixated on the fact that I've said yes and I work hard. So I'm going to follow through because people trust my word and I can't let people down.
I feel like this is a counselling session because I've experienced very similar things. As you know, over the past 18 months, I've been through a lot and had a very public and live stream federal court matter. In that time, I obviously took on the largest media organisation in the country. I wrote a book. I launched an independent media company. I at first lost my livelihood and lost all of any income I was making, pretty much. Huge impact on my mental health. But there was this, because there was an investment in the public in me. I felt that, well,
you owed them.
I need to keep giving them content. I need to keep showing up. I need to keep speaking. And I felt so guilty going to my publisher and saying, I need an extension to deliver my manuscript. And she's like, how long? And I'm like, 6 days. Like, I felt so bad to ask for an additional 6 days because I've never missed a deadline or an expected ever in my life.
Yeah. But what did they say?
She said, oh, of course.
Yeah. But I think as well, it goes back to that idea of being the perfect migrant or the perfect woman of colour or the perfect woman of colour who lives with a disability. Yeah. I know I've got all these things working against me, but I can still deliver when I say I will. Yeah. And my publishers were the same.
We have the same publisher.
Yeah. I dicked them around so much, just kept pushing out the deadline. And what I found too is if you let people in, if you just tell them the truth about what's going on, hey, my husband works away. I'm really overwhelmed at the moment. I'm solo parenting. Yeah. This deadline isn't achievable now. I don't know when is, but when my husband gets back in 3 weeks, I'll let you know.
Yeah, that's great. People are a lot more empathetic. Yeah.
They understand. I didn't need to keep everything to myself and somehow find a solution by myself either.
And how do we own the word selfish in a way? Because I do feel, it is a smear, but it's a particularly gendered smear. If a woman is selfish or if a mother is selfish, that would suggest that she is, it's just she doesn't care for her children. But because I too, like you, have had mental health struggles, and some of them quite public, I need to sleep. I need to exercise. I need to do a lot of things. Otherwise, I am not a well human being and I am not a good mother. But that does take time away from your children.
It's a difficult balance, hey? I think what I've done, and this is what I learnt from writing the book, even that idea of self-care, I'd see it on social media and I'd be like, that doesn't even mean anything. It's just a bougie thing. And then I read that it was an idea that the Black Panthers took on as a method of self-preservation. In their fight for racial equality, they realised that they needed to take care of themselves. They needed to make sure that they were eating good and resting and moving their body. And so when I looked at it through that lens and I realised it wasn't just, I'm not just going to a beauty spa. Yeah. I'm actually moving my body because it's what I need to do. It's how I function. It's how I navigate. It's how I survive this world. So when I politicised it a bit, it made it feel
more authentic to you.
Yeah, it made it feel easier for me. And even just saying I'm going for a run, it was easier for me to assert myself and to go and do it when I thought it was contributing to a greater good, which I do think it does.
Oh, it absolutely does. You take that time away and you come back, more calm or happy and whole, which means you can parent better or you can deliver that deadline.
Yeah.
But it's that internal judgment as well. Well, I'd say it's internal, but do you also find that women, because this is so internalized?
Yeah, but it's not just it's internalized for a reason, because it's the messages that we see out there. So we see women being applauded for being selfless. We see women being applauded for putting their families first. We see women applauded for doing all of these things in service of others. And we also see women who take time for themselves or do things for themselves. It doesn't really have the same loud applause that maybe, and I'm not doing, I'm not trying to go into the gender wars, but doesn't have the same level of applause that maybe a man would. So it is internalized, but it's internalized for a reason.
And so how have you managed that within your own household? Because taking time for you means having conversation with your partner or your support network to go, okay, I can't be doing all of this.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I only just realised this, but you can't do everything.
No, it sucks, right? I wish there were more hours in the day, because actually no, if you and I had more hours in the day,
it would just work. It'd be too much.
Yeah, exactly.
It wouldn't be good for our well-being. I'm so grateful for my partner Michael, because he's my rock, he's my ballast, he's my home. He's always been my number one, my biggest supporter. I could say, I'm going to be an astronaut. He'd be like, that's great, Dal.
Oh,
I love that for you. I could be like, I'm going to do a Japanese garden.
Yeah.
He'd be like, that's great, Dal. That's so he's always been really supportive. Navigating that at home with delegating the mental load, we did do that a couple of years ago where we had a conversation about who was doing what and how we could make it more equal, which was a conversation that we had with a good outcome. But in the research I did for this book, a lot of women aren't as they might not have the same support from their partners.
Yeah. See, I have my husband, Danny, again, like you, is my rock, he's my home, he's my wonderful partner in all the things. But that is not in every household. So it's weird having this conversation because you mentioned earlier, we don't want to get into the gender wars and you can always go, but there are some exceptions. Michael sounds like a wonderful,
he's
absolute
amazing.
life partner. So does my partner.
Yeah.
But that's not replicated in a lot of homes, No. So do you have tips on how people can navigate that?
I do have some tips, but I also want to be clear that if you're in a relationship which is violent or you're in a relationship where broaching the mental load is met with punishment, there's no real solutions that you can find apart from, and this is another thing I learnt, that women were solving the mental load or I suppose alleviating the stress associated with it through doing leisure. So women would say, everything at home can wait, I'm going for a walk with my girlfriend.
Right.
Or I've lowered my standards around the home and if a uniform's not clean because a teenager didn't wash it, they can wear a dirty uniform. So some women...
They don't sound like bad things though.
No, they're not. They're not. Some women, but if they didn't have supportive partners, they did have some ways of alleviating that mental load through participating in leisure.
Yeah.
However, there's also some people who, through whatever reason, don't feel like that's an option available for them.
Yeah. And of course, then there are people who are not in nuclear partnerships or in single-parent partnerships or whatever it is. All those dynamics are different.
But that's what made me feel bad too when I was writing this book, because I was like, you've got a supportive partner. You've got to create that in your life. Stop being such a little bitch.
Yeah.
Like, stop complaining. It's not that hard.
But mental health struggles don't discriminate like that. They don't she's doing all right.
I know that, Antoinette, but you would have thought with everything I'd been through.
Yeah, but when you're in it, you don't feel that, right?
No, you don't. And again, that's just all of that stuff we say to ourselves too, that you shouldn't complain, you should be grateful, you should be happy, you wanted a business, you wanted kids. You've got them, so stop being such a little bitch.
Yeah, stop being such a little bitch. Like, I feel like you need to put that on a T-shirt or something. You'll just turn that into a business. You said that parts of the book when you read back were quite dark.
Yeah.
What's it like where you are now looking back at those moments? And are you happy you shared them? Because that does show another dimension to you. That's not always like inspirational, rebound, can do everything no matter what life throws at her.
Yeah, and I suppose I probably wanted to put that out there too, because so often there's these people who, much like yourself or much like me, they go through something catastrophic, they come out the other side, they're amazing, they're better, yay, and it doesn't quite work like that. It's not always that straightforward. Like, that would be great if that could be possible, but it hasn't worked out like that for me. And so I probably wanted to put that out there too, that people go through mental health struggles. I think 1 in 3 Australians are going to go through some kind of mental health crisis, some kind of mental health condition in their lifetime. It's actually way more normal than we might admit. And so that was part of the reason why I wanted to include it in there, because I wanted to normalise these conversations that we have around mental health.
What makes you feel selfish but happy to be selfish? Like, is there a particular act or a particular thing you like to do or place you like to sit that makes you feel that you're happy, even if once upon a time you would have dubbed that as selfish?
Probably not going to come as much of a surprise, but probably exercising.
Probably running a marathon.
Probably like going for a run.
Yeah.
Or going for a surf. Yeah. Or going for a hike. Doing something outside in nature, I find quite therapeutic and healing. And I'm not going to write it off like, I'm not that good at surfing, or I don't do it that often.
Yeah.
Because it's good for me. It's good for my well-being. It's part of how I self-care. A
little challenge for you, but also it's a little bit of a challenge for me. How do you find just kind of sitting in the sun or sitting and doing nothing?
Really hard. Yeah. Really hard. And it's also where I generate a lot of ideas too. So I
wish I could be better at it. Just sitting and being.
Yeah. So I'll be like, okay, so I'm in the sun. Now what? What? Oh, what about this idea? What about this? What if I did this? Yeah. What if I did this instead? And I've come to accept that as part of who I am. Yeah. But I think something I want to do too is, I've built this business and this brand, but it's all been about me, and sometimes I get sick of talking about.
Well, that's why, like, before we started recording this interview, I did say to you, is there anything you don't want to talk about? Only because I too know that you sometimes get tired being the story, and I wanted to give you that opportunity to say, "Oh man, I'm amazing and I'm hot, but I don't want to talk about myself anymore, or not today."
Yeah. Well, so I started studying. A Masters of Women's Health because I just needed to do something. Yeah. Oh, no, that's...
What's wrong with that?
No, it's just like... Just like another thing that I've done. But like I just did it because I needed a break from me.
Yeah.
Like I needed to learn something else. I needed to look at something else. I needed to think about something else for a change. And that's also been really good for me. Yeah.
I am not a mental health expert, but one of the things I have learned is through lots and lots of therapy, and I hope it shows that I've done a lot of therapy.
You're very enlightened.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Is that you are who you are. You can't inherently change who you are, right? So when you and I sit there and we struggle to sit and be calm and just like be and enjoy the sun and not think anything, you know how sometimes you go, what are you thinking? And the person says,
that's my husband.
Nothing. And I'm like,
that's
damn, I'm jealous.
Yeah, that's him.
Is that you are, so much of who you are is inherently who you are. And when you get support, call it wellness, call it whatever you want, mental health support, whatever, it is to be the best version that you are, that you can't inherently change who you are, that you are wired the way you are, I'm wired the way I am. And so maybe with learning to be a little bit more selfish, we can be at peace with that.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
I also love how you ended this conversation. You started it and you ended it, you overachiever. You're like, I am the host now, and thank you for having me.
You leave now. This is my studio.
It was such an honour. Thank you so much.
It was so fun. Thank you.
Turia Pitt, my new bestie and the author of Selfish. It's now time for the weekend list. Helen Smith joins me every week and we give you a bunch of tips on what to do with your spare time, what to do with your money, what to do with your taste buds, because we are generous like that. Helen, what have you got this week?
My first recommendation is a book, a memoir. It's called Sociopath, the memoir.
Okay.
And it's written by this lady who discovered and figured out she was a sociopath. But she's a very high-functioning sociopath.
Yeah, because most sociopaths don't recognise it in themselves, no?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, right.
But there's a lot of hidden sociopaths that are just walking among us. Like, it's quite a normal thing to have high sociopathic traits. Her name's Patric, and she's a writer, former therapist, and she's an advocate for people who are suffering or living with being a sociopath or a psychopath. And she talks about in the book, they're very different. But it's really well written. It's her voicing it as well.
Oh, that's right. Audiobook, babe.
Yep. Audiobook. Oh, yeah, sorry. Reading it with my ears. But pretty much she takes us through her whole childhood as well, where she learnt that she had all these things and these tendencies and these urges, and then she kind of learnt to control them. And she was always looking for the definition of a sociopath. And at the time, the definition and the words, people were taking them out of dictionaries. She could never find it. She could never find this because it was such a debated mental illness. And then she goes on to study psychology. She actually gets her PhD in clinical psychology, and she focuses on the relationship between sociopathy and anxiety. And it's so interesting. There's a lot of medical terms and actual truth throughout the book. Like it's factual. But at the same time, it feels like this is kind of unbelievable, but it just normalizes lots of people who are sociopaths but are still living full lives and functioning in society without all these stereotypes and these norms and these misconceptions that are often put on people who are sociopaths and psychopaths that she talks about.
Wow. Okay. That's fascinating because, I mean, we use the word sociopaths and psychopaths like a slur.
Yeah.
Not really understanding that it's a complex mental health condition.
And she talks about that too and how it can diminish it. And it's all of those layers as well. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. It's called Sociopath, the memoir, and it's great. Yeah.
I also have a memoir. It's called Accessory, and it's by an Australian woman called Felicia Djamirze. I'm going to say it's Djamirze. Apologies to any Russian listeners or Eastern European listeners if I've mispronounced that. This is such a fascinating and honest book. She talks about her family being migrants from Russia, her family coming into some money, doing well in business when they first got here and then losing everything. She grows up in Housing Commission in Western Sydney. Her dad is an alcoholic, so she deals with alcoholism. And then she turns to underworld figures in King's Cross. So she ends up dating bikie gang members. And, accessory means essentially being an accessory. Her partner ends up being an ice meth lab person. Like, he creates the ice, he cooks, whatever, cooker.
Oh, my God.
Then an ice addict, then beats the living bejesus out of her, then goes to jail. Then her dad's dying from alcoholism. She now realises she has a problem with alcohol. There's a lot of trauma from her homeland, trauma from what her parents experience, and often alcoholism can be intergenerational. And she's super honest about when there were cop raids, when she nearly got arrested, when her ex-partner, when he was on an ice binge, would chase her around the house with a gun, how she would visit him in jail, the codes amongst outlaw motorcycle gangs. I think what was most revealing to me was not only her blatant honesty about all her shortcomings. She's a very beautiful woman who became a swimsuit model and also a Miss Australia. So she had this double life, a bit of a double life of being sort of very, very glamorous and representing Australia, but then also being connected to underworld figures.
Wow.
What's, I guess, wild for me is not, her story. And at one point, one partner throws acid in her face.
Oh, God.
But that she speaks about people that I went to school with. So I went to school with, and I used to sit next to him in art class, who then went on to become,
my God,
I used to fight, the president of the Nomads, the largest outlaw motorcycle gang. And so in some ways, even though I was like little nerd Miss Goody Two-Shoes, I recognised the names and the gangs and the kind of the toings and goings, if that's the phrase, of those underworld figures, because I also grew up in Western Sydney in a working class area, although I was not a beauty queen and I did not have an ice.
You're a beauty queen.
An ice cook as a husband, but I did know a lot of people who did. And she talks about how people from, again, generalisations, but sort of migrant communities, working class with a lot of trauma, she understands why they would be drawn to that kind of world.
Yeah.
The sense of belonging, the sense of, people wanting to get rich because they come from nothing. And I was just kind of reading and nodding along. Anyway, it's wild. It's really honest. And I hope you read it and don't recognise any of the people that she talks about like I did. Accessory by Felicia Djamirze.
That story is just wild. I can't wait. I hope there's an audiobook. I'll check. But yeah, my next recommendation is single serve meal prep in the oven with those tinfoil trays.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. You know those tinfoil trays that you might get, and they're like a foil tray.
Oh, right, that you get at like Bunnings or that Coles section for a barbecue.
Mini versions of those. You get mini versions
and
you can meal prep, put them in the oven like single serve.
Multiple times.
Yeah, so you can like meal prep multiple meals like at the right size that you want, and they're all cooked up in their little trays, so you can pack them in the fridge for lunch.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. It's great, but it's not as exciting as the books.
No, but that is a great idea because most of the time people either eat out or eat poorly is because they haven't meal prepped.
And it's not as yummy. But what you can do with these trays, you can actually put uncooked pasta and stuff them with meat or cheeses or whatever with the sauce throughout. You put them in their little tin trays and cover them with tinfoil or whatever. They cook up in the sauce in those actual trays. And you can do the same with rice as well, uncooked rice. You can put a bit of curry sauce, put a bit of meat, put a bit of veggies, like raw veggies, and it'll all actually cook and soak up in those juices, so it tastes way better.
Oh, I love that. That is actually a great tip. And I think you talked it down a bit. So maybe I was expecting worse and I was pleasantly surprised. Okay, so mine is, and obviously off the back of that conversation with Turia, like for ages I felt like a wellbeing journal was such like a wanky, again, bougie, like thing, but that it was nonsense. And then my husband ordered me a 21-day wellbeing journal, and that's after he listened to the founder of the Resilience Project, Hugh Van Seilenberg's book. We've had him on the podcast before. He's the co-host of the Imperfects podcast, and he kept raving on about how much he loved that audiobook, and he wanted to buy the wellbeing journal for himself and for me. So I was like, oh, whatever, it's been bought for me. I'm going to try it. It is so good. Like, it forces me to sit down. I mean, it doesn't force. I'm a disciplined person, as you may have gathered. As you may have gathered.
Forces you. You've got an alarm on your it's time for my wellness journal.
It's true. My husband hasn't done it anywhere near as much as I have. And the prompts, it was developed in conjunction with a mental health expert. So it's not just like a bloke shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
And it just asks you and prompts you every day to think of things that you are grateful for, but also to reflect on how you were feeling. And so it's essentially a gratitude journal. But and the science or the psychology is if you do it for 21 days straight, then you will start, I guess, like with the weekend list where we know we have to think of things that we can recommend. With a gratitude journal, if it's like going to ask you for 3 things a day, you're going to be like, what did I? It forces you to start seeing things in the prism of gratefulness, to be like, oh, well, I really appreciated that meal that somebody made me, or that time that stranger did that to
and
me.
be present.
To be present in those little exchanges that actually have an impact on you. So I can recommend the Resilience Project Wellbeing Journal because I was skeptical at first. I now have it and I am doing it every day.
I love that. I want to try that. So that's a great one.
And that is it from us. Thank you so much for hanging out with us every week. I love your company on the Weekend Briefing. I also love to hear your views on our chats. And this week, the chat with Turia Pitt has to be one of my favourite. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Let us know in the comments. If you can take a moment to review, maybe share it with 1, 2, 5 people you think might enjoy the conversation. That is it from me. The team will be back in your headphones on Monday with all the headlines and a fascinating deep dive. Take care of one another.
Listener.